The Commission for Gender Equality is this month embarking on a campaign to assess whether there is equitable access to educational resources in 8 different schools in 4 provinces. The Commission says the campaign will focus on nutrition and leaner population, among other issues. For more on the campaign, I'm now joined by Dibeela Mothupi, a Commissioner at the Commission for Gender Equality. Ms. Mothupi, I appreciate your time this afternoon. Can you talk to us about the purpose and goals of this exercise to monitor education in South African schools?
Thanks and good afternoon. We have come up with this project in order for us to find out if education is accessible throughout the country, in particular in schools which are named quintiles 1 and 2. And we have identified the majority of schools in rural areas. That is your farm schools, to find out or to observe if education is indeed accessible, and also observe if the environment under which the learners are learning and educators are teaching is conducive for learning and teaching, to observe if schools are getting services, because there might be nutritional programs at schools, but we find that there are areas where we have challenges with water, to find out if the challenges which are there within communities are affecting the schools which are in those communities. Like I have mentioned, the challenge with water in a lot of areas, and also to a certain extent the challenges in relation to gender-based violence, to observe as to how far-reaching is it, in particular in terms of ensuring that there's education for our kids, whether the learners are learning in an environment where they are protected from gender-based violence and even violence in general, even among themselves as learners.
Now, Ms. Mothupi, your sample is 8 schools in 4 provinces. Is this a fair sample? Will it give you the information that you are looking for that allows you to extrapolate across the rest of the country?
We do not think that it would give actually the whole story, but we are saying this is just the beginning. This is not the only project that we'll be conducting. This is the beginning, and we will be continuing to observe even beyond this sampling that we have come up with of 4 provinces within the 9 provinces in our country, so that we can have a feeling, relatively a feeling of what learning is like and what the challenges are within our schools for both the learners and the educators. We intend expanding our reach in terms of monitoring of education in our schools.
Now, talk to us about how CGE will engage administrators, the learners themselves, the educators within the schools, and hopefully the parents and guardians. What does that process look like?
What we do at the moment, we meet with the school management, and after that we would be going to a few classes. I've been through, the first one for me was a farm school, and it had only like 5 classes, so it was easy. I went through all of the classes. So we meet with the school management, and then we also get a chance of interacting with learners whilst at the school. We have not made arrangements for meeting with parents. We had hoped that that would be our second round, meeting with parents in those schools, because at the moment we are gathering information from those who are responsible for managing the schools. And we intend looking at how we also meet with the parents at the different schools, and obviously the governing bodies of the schools, so that we can have an understanding of whether the information we got from the management is the same as the one we get from parents and from the school governing bodies.
Well, ma'am, if you're going to do 2 trips to the same school to collect information, I'd imagine that all of this comes at a cost, and part of what you're trying to do is mitigate costs. Is it not possible to meet the various people that you can meet all at one go, as opposed to meeting the school authorities, going back, and then coming back again to meet the parents, for instance?
we still, even if we were not going to meet with them, you would go and make your observations, and then we raise them with the department, but we still need a second trip to check if the issues that we picked up and raised with the department have been responded to. Because, of course, we can't just rely on the information we get from the department, because we would raise these issues, and obviously the departments in the different provinces, we expect that they would make commitments, like it is usually the case with government departments, that would make observations and meet with them and bring them to their attention, and they would always make commitments. But you also still have to make a follow-up to ensure that indeed the issues as having been raised are responded to and are being addressed.
So how do you ensure that actually happens? You know, I mean, what is that process of gathering information, going to the department, and then coming back to ensure that those issues are attended to? What is the timeline or the time lapse between submission of the issues that you've discovered to the actual time that it is implemented, and you come back and do those verification processes?
Our expectation is that during this last financial quarter, we would be doing this round of consultations and then report back to them. And during the first financial quarter, we would be going back to assess if indeed the departments in the 4 provinces have responded to the issues that we faced. And then we would also be submitting a report to Parliament through the relevant portfolio committee. Obviously, should we find out that the issues have not been addressed, that would also need a relevant portfolio committee of the Parliament to also look into those issues and raise it through parliamentary processes.
Now, talk to us about some of the common challenges and barriers to education that you've picked up in prior exercises.
At the moment, the challenges we've come across, in particular for the farm schools, you'd find that you would have issues with services, in particular water. You would have issues with transportation of learners, and you would also have issues with the infrastructure itself. Though with the infrastructure, I must say, it doesn't look bad, because the one school in the Free State, the farm school that we went to, we found that only 2 windows were broken, and the rest of the school is intact and everything is in order. And I must also say that we've also found out that in this one school, there's no accessibility for people living with disabilities. And the argument is that they've never had a learner living with disabilities, but this is the issue that we will be raising with the department, because they can't wait until they have such a learner. Because if you wait until you have such a learner, what happens if they register? You say wait until we make sure that the school can accommodate you. That was the issue we raised with the principal. But all in all, the issues range from accessibility by learners living with disabilities and transportation of learners, as well as water, in particular in the area where we were, where even within the local municipality, water is an issue.
Mothupi, I appreciate your time this afternoon.